To this module within which we are going to explore Android game development. This is the first of our videos, and in this particular short series here we're going to introduce the module, have a look at how it's structured, have a look at how I hope you will learn within the module. So we'll start off with really sort of welcoming you to it. This will be a year through module running over both semesters. For most students, a reasonably challenging module, but actually hopefully a reasonably enjoyable module. In terms of the aims, what we are going to fundamentally try to accomplish within this module is actually quite straightforward. The module aims to improve your programming skills. That's it. Well, that breaks down into multiple parts. But at the end of the module, I want you to come out of it a notably better programmer than you went into the module. So we're all about improving programming skills. How are we going to do that? Different ways. For this particular module here, we're going to use a project. It's going to be a project within which you will be developing a game. It's going to be a game which will run on an Android device, be it a phone, be it a tablet. So this is the vehicle, the mechanism, the means through which we will improve programming ability, writing a gaming app. For this module, there is no examination at the end, there's no class test, there's no things like that. The only form of assessment is of the project that you submit at the end of the project, or the end of the module. We're going to have a look at it in terms of its complexity, quality of design, so on and so forth. And based on the quality of your project, you'll get a mark, and that will be your mark on this module. So reasonably straightforward, reasonably simple. So a little bit about my lecturing style. As you're going to see a lot of me on this module, so I think it's only fair I tell you a little bit about how I try to go about teaching on the modules that I deliver. I don't want to tug at you for an hour. Now, admittedly, you're sitting listening to a video and I am rambling on to you. It won't be for an hour, but in lectures where we are together, I will not be spending that time standing up and simply rambling on and talking to you. I would much rather, we do a little bit of that, we do activities, we solve some problems, we look at code, we do a whole host of different activities within the lectures. In doing that, I am, however, assuming that you will factor into your week some time when you do sit down and listen to these lectures, these videos here. So please make sure you do that, because this stuff, I will be skimming over it in the lectures. I will not be covering it in great detail. I really want to hear your thoughts and opinions. For me, that's important. So what you think, how you're getting on, the things that you like, the things that you don't like, all of that's important to me. So I wholeheartedly encourage you to talk to me, to let me know. I like asking questions. I'll ask quite a lot of questions in lectures or if you're meeting with me. But generally speaking, I don't like questions that are yes, no, true, false, right, wrong, sort of binary outcomes. Questions which I find a lot more interesting are ones, well, why or do you think of this? Or what is the advantages or disadvantages of using things in a certain way? They generally are more interesting questions to answer, because there's not a simple yes or no, right or wrong answer to them. I'm friendly. That'll be your assessment. You can make that whenever you want. Hopefully you come to that overall assessment, but well, time will tell. A few things which have nothing to do with my teaching style, but just tell you a little bit about me then. I'm old enough to have grown up whenever home computers, really at the start of it. So in terms of your Sinclair Spectrums, your Commodore C64s and so on, that's my childhood. So I have a bit of a nerdish passion for old hardware, just in terms of how things have evolved and changed. And you can see a little bit in the picture here, but on the office wall, I actually have a collection of motherboards which are being framed from the old Intel 8086 to 286, 386, and so on and so forth. I do play games. I probably play too much by way of games, and I've logged a distressing number of hours in Team Fortress 2. Feel free to add me if you want to. As a kid, all honesty here, if you ask me what I wanted to be as a kid, I wanted to be a mad scientist, sort of tar, lightning, crashing down, so computer scientist, so getting there, I suppose. Okay, so in terms of learning in this module, I'm going to have a look here at how the module has been designed to try to encourage learning. Now, if we think about this here, I want to make you a better programmer. To do that, learning has to occur. So we're going to look at the process, and what we will do actually when I have you get in the lecture hall is we'll do a small exercise thinking about how people learn. The outcome of that exercise, I'm going to present it here. There's really two main factors that encourage people to learn. And I'm not talking here about students. Well, I am talking about students, but not exclusively students. I'm talking about infants, children. I'm talking about pensioners. So people in general, irrespective of what they are learning or at what age, there's two key reasons why people decide to learn something. Either they perceive it to be useful. So somebody thinks that if I know this, or if I can do this, or if I can do it better, then there's going to be some advantage to doing this, and I value that advantage. And the second reason, actually accounts for a very significant amount of learning, is it's fun. We actually wired to enjoy learning. So when people play sport or practice something to get better at a musical instrument or whatever, that's learning. And people generally often are doing it because they find it fun, they find it enjoyable. So that's important. We learn if we find something to be useful or fun. If we find something not useful and not fun, it is very, very difficult for us to learn. It's an incredibly uphill struggle. People learn things by doing them. Again, we are wired up in terms of our physiology and our brain to do it and to improve through practice, through iteration. We start off doing it not so well. The more we practice it, generally speaking, the better we get at it. And again, that's how people in the broad sense learn best. Practice it. Just do the thing. Keep practicing it. Get better over time. Now, there's a lot of things you could think about here in terms of, well, traditional education, be it at primary, secondary, tertiary, university level. Are your modules things that you perceive to be useful, to be fun? Do you do by way of learning, and a whole host of things? Now, this module I'm going to try to structure things so that we do adhere to those underpinning principles. How are we doing this? So the entire course is focused on developing a project. Programming is a practical activity. So I'm not going to get you to sit and cram and study for exams. If I want to make you a better programmer, I need to get you to do programming. So you will be spending many, many hours sitting down in front of a computer programming throughout the duration of this module. And it will be many hours because out of necessity it will have to be many hours. But there will be a lot of doing. Because you are doing, that's going to be by far the best way of actually making you a better programmer. Lectures then, lectures were simply there here to support the project. They have a supporting role. The other one then about the fun notion. So I maybe have a guess at what types of development you would find fun. I can't know for sure. A game is probably a fairly good one because it is designed to be entertaining, and to be honest, actually coding a game most people find to be a fun activity. But what exactly you code, the type of game that you develop, that's going to be your choice. So I'm giving you the freedom to develop the type of thing that you want to develop, the type of game. And the marking scheme is quite flexible, so it can adapt to different styles of games. So because I'm giving you this freedom, I'm giving you it because I'm trying to say to you, pick something that you want to do. Pick something that you think, I'll enjoy doing that. It is interesting. It would be likely to be fun. That's the other mechanism we have then of getting in something and encouraging you to want to do it. But at the bottom, what you learn will likely be of considerable use in your placement year and in other programming modules. And it says, trust me on this here, because well, if you haven't done it, you can't know for sure that it is going to be of use. But that's what previous students have reported. So these will be skills that will be of considerable benefit to you in terms of being useful in the not too distant future. So learning contract then, talk a little bit more about this in the lecture, and you can read about it in a bit more detail in the module handbook. So these are things that I will promise to do if you promise to sign the other side of the contract. So what am I promising? Well, things you can expect of me. General, I'm here to help. So I'm delivering this module. My goal is to make all of us better programmers. And where possible, I'm going to help you in that process. That's what my role is on the module. I'll be supportive and non-judgmental, and I will be, and I'll work hard to be that, other than at the assessment at the end. So the assessment at the end, I put on a different cap, but during the actual module, I'm there, I'm helpful. The supportive non-judgmental, what this means is that there is no such thing as a silly question. If you're not certain about something, ask away. And I will always welcome those questions, because people are at different levels. People will understand different things in different ways. So there's no such thing as too simple a question, or there's no such thing you should be embarrassed about not knowing. If you're asking it and you're learning about it and you're improving, that's positive, that's progress, and that is always will be welcome. Within lectures, I won't regurgitate material within lectures. We will do other activities as soon as you're listening to this stuff. I'm very happy to answer questions. So if something's not clear, or if something pops into your head, ask away in the lecture. I'm always happy for people to ask and for us to explore things within lectures. Within the assessment at the end, I'll be fair, honest, and consistent in all assessments. So I put on a rather different, as mentioned, cap at the end. There I will be looking at what you have done. It will be assessed against the defined and published criteria, and we'll have a look at those as well, and you will get a mark at the end. I'll be consistent, fair, honest in terms of the mark that everybody receives on the module. So that's maybe a reasonable amount of stuff to offer. I'm sure you would want me to be that. So what do you have to be in return? Things I'll expect from you, for me to act in that way. Not too much. You'll attend lectures, and you'll explore it says weekly study pack. So what this means is you will listen to these lectures. Each week we will be doing different activities. Some might be planning for a sprint or working towards whatever user stories you're doing in that sprint. But you will put in the time and effort on the module required, and you will attend lectures and participate in things like that. You will work on your project throughout the duration of the module. What this means is that, this is year through. You're not going to simply leave it till the second semester before starting. In fact, you'll see later on in the next introductory lecture, you'll not be able to do that. But that's what I will expect of you. And in return, what's on the top is what you can expect of me. In terms of the module contents, so we talked about how we're going to try to structure this by becoming a better programmer, about doing a project. And we talked about how we're going to try to structure learning within it. But in terms of the contents within the lectures and the videos, this is what we want to break down in this section. So module contents and the structure. There's a number of different programming topics that we will explore within the module. You can see them highlighted at the bottom. So contemporary software development, Android app development, 2D game development, performance and efficiency, and user experience design. So there are the 5 main themes, areas, if you like, that we will be exploring within the module that will help you, which will be a benefit to you when you are developing your project. So again, all makes sense. We'll have a little look at Android app development because you're doing an Android app. We'll have a look at how you write a game. We're doing 2D game as opposed to 3D because it's a little bit more straightforward, but these are all of the component pieces that, if you put them all together, will provide you, hopefully, with a high quality game on the other side. So having a little look at these. So contemporary software development's the first one. So we will explore and practice some of the key fundamental underpinning agile and lean software development techniques. We'll also explore how to work effectively within a team. So the projects will use an agile methodology, and we'll have a little look at agile and lean techniques. very much at this level of your education. It's an introduction to it. It's trying to get some of the fundamentals and adhering to those fundamentals. This is a team-based project, so we'll have a look at how we can work effectively within a team. Android app development. We'll delve into Android app development, focusing on the types of interaction the user can have with their tablet and how we render a game world on screen. Surprisingly, we won't actually do that much by way of Android app development. Games, and most games, when they're written, they put in a layer of abstraction on top of the underlying hardware, and the game then goes on top of that. So the amount of stuff that we need to explore to give us a foundation in which to build a game in Android is not that amount. We need to look at input mechanisms. We'll have to look at screen sizes, aspect ratios, some stuff like that. 2D games programming. We'll study a range of 2D games programming topics, so things like architectures, different graphical effects, collision detection, artificial intelligence, and so on. So these are the elements, building blocks that you have within most 2D games. So we'll have a little look at how we can do those, how we can detect an overlap between two objects, how we can use graphical transforms to rotate or to expand images, and so on and so forth. Performance and efficiency is the next one. Now, using C++. So this actually will be more in the second semester. But we're going to use C++ to understand how code is executed and how data is set out in memory. This is as opposed to using Java and Android. And we're using it in C++ as a means of more deeply understanding the execution of our programs. So we're going to go down a level to have a look at how the code we write gets to be executed. From this, we'll be able to write faster and hence more efficient code in virtually all programming languages. So even though we're looking at C++, it'll give us techniques that are broadly applicable. Why is performance and efficiency important? Sure, it is in games. More broadly, it's essential within mobile devices, tablets or phones, because a more efficient program, no matter what it is, will use less or put less strain on the battery. That's a good thing. It's generally more responsive. So fast, efficient programs, irrespective of what they are desirable things to have. Final category here, user experience or UX design. We'll finally consider, well, when we say finally, we're not going to put this at the very end of the course. It'll be sort of dribbed and drabbed through the course, a number of different sections. We'll also consider how we can interact with software in terms of what we're likely to see, what we often miss, and how we think about problems. So the user experience design is about how people interact with a user interface, and a few tips that can help us better design our interfaces so that they are more usable. Okay, so there's a module handbook. You most certainly should read and take time to read the module handbook. It contains a lot of information expanding on the stuff we've been talking about here. So learning objectives, module structure, project overview, assessment, recommend reading, so on and so forth. So do go through that. Please probably take 20-30 minutes to read through it, but do take the time to do that. So a few other miscellaneous things before we finish off this first introductory talk. Recommended reading, there are 3 books that are recommended. There's a vast amount of stuff online, but these books are quite good. First one is Learning Android Studio, or Learn Android Studio. Sort of quite a nice one about the use of Android Studio. Doesn't really go into Android, the framework, in great detail. It's more about using the Studio effectively. That's quite useful. Beginning Android Games. Now, this is 2012, so it's based on, it's before Android Studio. It was based on the use of Eclipse with an Android plugin, but is a very good games programming one. So it looks at it the right way in terms of putting in a layer of abstraction and building the game on top of that, and then the linkage points between that abstracted layer and their underpinning Android framework. And we'll be using that approach. The one on the right-hand side is C++ A Beginner's Guide. Now, you might think Beginner's Guide is straightforward and simple. It's an excellent book. It may be an introduction to C++, but it gets down into proper details in terms of language features and efficiencies and things like that. So it's an excellent text to use to learn C++. Lecture times, important dates. You can read these in the handbook. So we'll have 3 lectures a week. I suppose the only thing I want to say is that on a, we'll have one lab session a week. Now it's optional, it's an advisory, it's a drop-in session. Within that we'll have a number of demonstrators who have experience of writing Android games, apps, and you can pop in and have them have a look and discuss your project with them. Alternatively, if you want to come along and see me, I've set aside a couple of times at the Bodmin on a Tuesday and a Thursday when you can pop in again for an advisory with myself, and we can talk about your project, have a look at some of the elements of it, or think about how you're going about designing things. So lectures, definitely do attend. The advisories, whenever you have a need, make use of them, please. Important dates, again, you can read more about this in the handbook, but in essence, and we'll look at more of this in the next introductory talk, but in essence there's hand-ins with each of the major sprints, sort of submission points along the way, but you can see the dates there. Now, one final thing to finish this talk off on, it's to direct you towards a document. At the end of all of the modules, I asked students to provide me with some advice that they would want to give to the next cohort of students taking the modules. And again, you'll be asked exactly the same. At the end of the module, I'll ask you, well, what words of wisdom do you want to pass on to next year's class? So I collected it together in a document. Do have a read at that. There are lots of very useful items of information within it. That said, the bit down at the very, very bottom, the information about it for students is incredibly valuable. It is, because these are people who have gone through the module and this has been their experience and this is what they would do differently next time. Although it is only valuable if you actually act upon the advice. So if you simply read it and go, ooh, that all makes sense, and you do nothing else, it's worthless. It is only if you read it and think, yes, I'm going to do that, or I will make sure I don't do that, you act upon the advice. That's, and only then, is when it becomes useful. So key takeaways in this introductory slice. Aim of the module is to make you a more capable and competent software developer. Do carefully read the handbook because it talks a lot more about some of the things we briefly explored within this talk. And do read the feedback that's been provided by the previous cohorts of students. There's going to be a total of 3 introductory talks. So in the next introductory talk, we're going to look at the project that we have within the module in more detail.